Hello, welcome back to the Boudoir Guild. I am Mike Lloyd, and I'm so stoked that you decided to join us for part two. In the first half, Maddie and I chat about finding a balance, creating a new project when you are working your 9 to 5 job, as most of you building your photography businesses are. And in the second half, she interviews me and asks me a bunch of questions about marketing and creating systems and processes and just how to make your life easier. Basically, how to get more done while doing less time so you can, focus on things like sleep and your family and the other things that are important to you while building this new business. So enjoy part two.
I don't know if I'm the one able to interview you, but I have questions for you as we're
Yeah,
talking.
the
Okay,
last
great.
episode totally turned into that also. So
Oh,
sure.
okay, great. Yeah, this is, Mike's so smart that we all just want his brain and knowledge. So this was supposed to be, me helping. No, that's not how it's going to be. But okay, I want to talk about the idea of like faking it till you make it.
Okay.
I feel like a lot of us, as we start our businesses, like you said, we don't exactly know or have all the answers. Um, and we feel inadequate, maybe.
Yeah.
And the more that I talk about this idea, the more I realize it's everyone. Pretty much, right? Like everyone is in the same boat of feeling inadequate, of
Yeah.
feeling like they have no idea what they're doing. But then you ask everyone else around you, and they're like, oh, yeah, like Mike's the best at his trade. And I'm not saying this is you, Mike, because you really are the best. But like for me, I have people like, oh, the podcast's so good, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, you have no idea. Plus, I don't even know what is happening half the time.
Right.
But I think it's super important to not let that be your bottleneck and not let that be the reason why you don't start something or continue, because you might feel inadequate or you might feel like you're just this fraud, I guess is like the phrase that I hear a lot. It's
Yeah.
like I just feel like a
Imposter syndrome.
fraud.
I don't like the phrase fake it till you make it because you're pretending to be something that you're not,
Mm-hmm.
which creates conflict inside of you. Right?
Mm,
Because you go out and you're telling these people, I am this thing, knowing that you're not yet. And it's unnecessary stress and pressure on yourself to keep the lie up, essentially.
mm,
And then, yeah, you feel shame because you're lying to everybody and you're pretending to be something that you're not. So the thing that I like to do is just be honest with everything going on. Like I tell my students, you want to build a photography portfolio, especially in boudoir, which is, it can be a sensitive thing. Like you don't just want to be the creeper who's asking to take pictures of women in their underwear, right? There's a better way to approach that. But rather than go out and pretend like you're some big shot photographer where everyone is lucky to be in front of your camera, just be honest. Like, hey, I really want to get into this. I'm trying to learn the right way to do this. I want to get some more practice. I love your energy. I'd love to work with you. Do you want to do a shoot while we can, both build up our portfolios? Like, it's so humble and like that's strength right there. To be like, I
mm.
don't know it all yet, but I really want to figure it out. Do you want to be a part of that journey with me? And not, hey, I'm not good. I don't know what I'm doing. Does anyone want to work with me? Like, there's a middle ground where you
Sure.
can say, I'm learning. Who wants to be a part of this journey with me? And I'm still in that boat. I book creative shoots all the time on things that I don't know how to do. And I
Right.
just tell people. And now I have enough clients that, I've created. This is brilliant. It's basically like a VIP membership where my clients buy a high enough package, they get access to this special club where I offer mini session shoots throughout the year that no one else can get in on. And these
Mm,
mini sessions are all things that I'm trying to figure out. My best clients come in, they feel cool because they get extra shoot time with me for free. I get to build my portfolio with new things that I have no idea what I'm shooting, whether it's new sets or the new AI stuff I've been creating, new lighting setups, new whatever. But that's the whole thing. And they come in and it's like, I don't know what I'm doing. Let's just play. But, because of the rapport we already have, they're 100% on board because they know I'm going to do the best that I can, and they're just stoked to be a part of that journey. So yeah, I really don't believe in faking it till you make it. Just be honest because we're always on a journey and you've never really made it. There's no such thing.
so true. It's all about like the perspective, I guess, and
Yeah.
what you're telling yourself. because
Yeah.
like obviously everyone starts at the same spot, right? At the bottom.
Yep.
And we all are continually learning and growing. See, this guy's smart. This is why he is like my master wizard guru.
Thank you. Okay, so starting at the bottom, absolutely, but there's no top.
Mm,
It goes on forever. So that's why I don't like the till you make it thing. And I thought there would be a point where I would feel like I've made it. And like I've got movie covers on Netflix. I've had my work on the big screen in Times Square. Like I've been published in magazines around the world and multiple six figures of revenue that I built all this stuff and I don't feel like I've made it yet. When those things like, I've been recognized in public and people have taken selfies with me because my podcast or this channel or whatever. And it's like, I still don't feel like I've made it,
yeah.
because as soon as you get to one point, you're like, cool, what's next? And then you just keep going.
So there is no ceiling.
No, absolutely not. It's about the journey. It's the adventure. It's the growth and the development. That is the journey. That is the goal. It's not a dollar amount. It's not anything else.
Mm. And it's interesting too because you look at other businesses and you see like they're really successful or you think they're really successful, but then they're continuing to modify and change based on what's actually working or what's not working. So I love that because there is no ceiling, there is no like you've made it to the top because even at the top you can be better. You can learn more. I mean, our world is like constantly changing of like what's what is working and what's not working and how to be successful as a business owner and what people want and especially with social media and content like that. Like what a crazy different world it is now with social media and business. You got to be on social media in my opinion to be successful in business at least a little bit.
So when you brought up earlier that you want to have social media, and this is for your podcast, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it could be very helpful as a way to reach your audience, like new potential listeners, but it's only one method.
Right.
Right? Just, I mean, if you're bringing on professional athletes, by default, you're doing influencer marketing. You're already bringing on influencers whose audiences you can leverage. So, whether it's, that you do an Instagram account or TikTok or whatever, where you're just sharing little snippets of the show and a photo of the person, getting different media outlets to then link back to you, whatever, that's one thing. But when those people with 1 million followers or 1,000 followers share their show link to their own account, you're going to get new followers who are interested in people in sports and you'll find your audience. So you've already got something good going for you. All of your guests are going to be influencers to some degree anyway.
Right. And that is also a hard part though, right? You're working with a lot of professional athletes. And so what is okay to ask of them, right? Because they come on for free. And it's cool because everyone who we've reached out to is really passionate about what we're trying to do, which is awesome.
Yeah.
They're not looking for money or, anything
Right.
like that. But at the same time, it's all about the conversation, bringing this community to get together. And then what we do try to do is, like, hey, let's put a tease together, for the podcast. And then we'd love for you to share, but a lot of times that doesn't really happen. So I guess
true.
just finding, the balance of what works, what doesn't work, how to communicate that across the line, and really having something that is so good that these guys will want to share it.
Right.
Is the biggest thing.
Yeah. So you're on the right track of making things easy for them to share.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just like make it a no-brainer. You could even write the post for them that they can literally just copy paste, upload the thing, or you post it and they can just reshare it, even something simple like that. But one of the things that I learned from one of my own mentors, he would go on shows and never share anything. And I don't know how many, famous people I had on my own podcast who never shared any of the things from the shows that we sent them. You can go find curators of content similar to yours who can then share that content to their own audiences. other people with TikToks, Instagram, with blogs, with whatever, who can then feature your content in their own feeds.
That's a really good idea. Um, Also, back to, like I said, social media, was king or whatever before. I want to retract a little bit because of what you were saying. Like, I think it is super important, but you also are trying to like build different platforms, right, for them to kind of stand alone on their own. Um, and that's something that I've been thinking about a lot this week specifically is, do I just want to focus on like the podcast and make sure the podcast is really good, and then everything else will kind of like speak for itself, and then when we do get an intern, it will work out? Or do I want to put half of my effort into social media and half of my effort over here? And again, that's like that balancing act of how much time do you have in a day to figure it out, how much do you
Right.
want to put into something but you're also passionate about it.
With the podcasting, like unless you're him, you're not doing an episode every day. It could be like a weekly show or something like
Right.
that. So you have more time to spend on the distribution than you have on the production. Filming 3 videos a week for this YouTube channel is one of the reasons I'm not touching as much of anything else, because it takes so long to create the content. So, but with the podcast, it was a lot easier. And I think it's just a marketing analysis of what is going to be the most time efficient way to reach the most effective audience.
Right.
And I don't know what that answer is for you, whether it's parenting magazines or mom's blogs, because it doesn't just have to be sports related.
Right.
I think it could be a fun thing for just the mom's blogs, or the Facebook groups, the meetup groups, the Facebook groups, any of those, where people are like, I would love to see how a celebrity is doing these things, just like they get, reality TV or, gossip channels or whatever. I obviously don't watch TV. I don't know what any of that is called anymore, but you can reach out to influencers like that, essentially, influencers, curators of these kinds of groups. There's a mom's blog network, and it's basically like metropolitan area mom's blog. So we have the Silicon Valley one, we have a San Francisco one here in California. They're all over the country. And a couple of photographer friends of mine who live up in Minnesota reached out to the Minneapolis mom's blog. They're all independently owned under the same company. And they basically just sponsored an article about their photography studio and the value of portraits, ran a giveaway, and they booked a ton of work from it for very little money. So I did the same thing. I reached out to the one closest to me. They wrote an article about my studio. We went into their Facebook group, and in order to enter the contest to win a session with me, you had to say something kind about yourself. That was the cost of entry, which is so online with my brand. It wasn't like 10 friends and share the account, because no one ever follows that. It's just annoying. But, I would rather have 10 people say something kind about themselves, offer one of them the grand prize, offer the rest half off their session, the ones that actually cared, than people who just tagged the first 10 people in their list. And I don't know, between the first round, who then referred people, that $300 investment brought in over 20K in revenue that year. So that to me was well worth it. And I wouldn't even have thought of something like that to have, a blogger write an article about me. So, different places where your audiences are, and find out how to get other people to leverage their networks.
Finding them, that is the key and the hardest part, in my opinion.
Which is true, but also go on to Upwork or Fiverr or Online Jobs and hire someone to do data mining for you. So when I was doing things like that, after that one worked, I went on and hired someone in another country to basically research every mom's blog who had posted within the last 30 days, because I wanted current active ones, basically every website. And they put together a list of 100 different active blogs for me, or social media accounts with between 5 and 10,000 followers who get at least a certain number of likes or comments per post, because I don't want someone who just gets bot traffic. Maybe they have 100,000 followers, but if 3 people are commenting on each post, it's all fake traffic. So you can get other people to do the research and find that list for you. And then, maybe 10% of that list isn't going to be what you're looking for. Maybe it's old, maybe it's whatever. But a good percentage of those lists are going to be worth checking out. And then you get somebody else to actually write the emails for you, create an
Right.
email account under your domain name. Because what I found with my podcast, if I reached out as the host, I would get X number of responses. If my booking agent reached out, I got more responses because I was more legit because I had a booking agent. I was sending both emails, but I created, booking at photogsunite.com and sent those out. So, and no one ever asked to meet that other person. And if they did, I would have been like, it was me. But
You would have put your top hat on and then gone with one of your accents or something.
done like a mustache on my finger. Yeah,
You could do it. You could
totally.
pull it off.
So little things like that, make a big difference. And I think you pay 10 cents to 25 cents a lead. So, for $50, whatever, you can get a list of 100 of those blogs to write about your show and what's great about it. And you contact all of them using the same email. You just personalize each thing. So what I did was I had the data miner go out, find the blog, find one of the most recent articles, like the third most recent article, and then one of the subject lines from it. So I could write in the email, hey, big fan of your thing. I love the episode you did on that, especially when you talked about this. I think our content would be relevant. And that way it didn't just seem like a copy paste email. Hey, you're great. Share my stuff. It showed that we put a little bit of effort into it. And then if somebody responded and wanted to have a conversation about it, I would have gone back and read the thing. But, that is what got the conversation started. And it cost very little money. And I didn't have to do anything but the facilitation at that point. So I think you could definitely leverage that sort of effort and make a big difference. And same, photographers at home, you're like, cool, I'm not running a podcast. I don't need mom's blogs all over the country. But you can find every baby boot camp. You can find every, women's networking group. You can find every reason that your target market would meet up together. The wine painting parties. I mean, there's so many reasons that our clients get together with other similar people. And for like $50, someone can give you 100 of those instances to contact.
Right. So good. So smart.
Thanks. One thing I wanted to touch on from earlier was, hiring people smarter than you. And then the way you talked about it was perfect, because we're not actually hiring people smarter than us. We're hiring people who have a defined skill set that complements our skill set. I mean, maybe they are smarter than us in general, but you can't really quantify that. So, when it comes like to video analytics and strategy and stuff, I know I've come to you with ideas for cool new things, right? Like all the 22 snackable videos that we wanted to make.
Sure.
And you're like, that's cool, but it doesn't achieve any of the goals that we're actually trying to hit. I'm like, okay, fair. So thank you for keeping me online.
Of course.
But that's it, because I get really excited about a thing and you're like, that's great. I love your enthusiasm, but it doesn't actually move us toward the goal. So just having somebody else on your team to help you do that. And it's obviously you're smarter in different ways.
Yeah, I definitely have more of the creative mind. And then, I have someone on my team that's really good at systems and processes, which I don't want to touch that. Like I'm just not good there.
Yeah.
And then I have, another member of our team that's super meticulous and has to go through videos and quality control them to make sure they're good. And again, there's so many moving parts of a business. And it really takes everyone coming together to pull it off. I would like to say as well, the reason that we are successful is because we all have each other's backs. I will say that I love that about video power marketing in general, is that we don't let each other fail, and we don't, like, we hold each other accountable for sure,
Yeah.
But at the same time, like if someone, drops the ball, someone is right there to pick them up, which is amazing. And we kind of all have an understanding of how everything works in some way where we're like, okay, this doesn't look right. And we know who to go to as well to figure that
Yeah.
out. And another thing that I really love is like I just took a week trip to Mexico and I am the creative director. I'm like oversee, 6 or 7 people. And for me, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to work every day and this is stressful. And then I was stuck in a hurricane and like had no power and couldn't do anything. And you know what? My team totally was amazing. And it was really cool to see that everything that we did put in place, those systems and processes, worked. Because a lot of time there's going to be turnover in your company, and you're going to need to just give someone a playbook and train them. And so if
Yep.
you already have that in place, that is in my opinion, that is the best thing that you can do for your company. Is we like to say, work smarter, not harder. But with that being said, the first maybe couple months, you might need to work a little harder. But that's okay. Like then you get to a place where you aren't working harder and you are working smart because all of those things are already laid out for you. So you do
Yeah.
have to put in the work up front and you have to spend a little bit more time, but then you've done the hard part and hopefully else will flow until you hit that next speed bump or that next bottleneck, and then you figure out what the next process is or the next step in your business. So I will say that is, and those are some of the things that I've learned and really appreciate within a business, and just working with a boss who really cares about people first. And that is special and unique. I've worked for both someone who cared about butt and chair 9 to 5 and someone who cared about people over profit, honestly.
Yeah.
And I think you see that when you care about the person, you also get the work ethic that you're looking for too, because you
100%.
you buy into it with that
Yeah.
person.
Yeah. I created a training in the Boudoir Guild called How to Be CEO just for that reason, because having that conversation with so many people, even if you're one person in your company, having systems in place will keep you headed in the right direction if you don't have somebody else to help watch your back as well. And it's things that I've learned over the year the hard way, but it just makes everything so much easier. So when you have an issue of like, what if a client's credit card issues a chargeback? What if I have a cancellation because of whatever? Like, how do I respond to these things? You have your own handbook essentially, and you're checking these things regularly because you have this schedule in place, meetings with yourself essentially to make sure that all these things are in line and you're actually running a business. Because one of the things that almost every single new business owner overlooks when they say that they want to be their own boss is that you actually have to be the boss in a company. And that's not just like because I'm at the top, but like you have to do the functions that the boss would do.
Right.
And
Which
people
isn't
forget that.
always the easiest thing.
No.
But
Well,
yeah, sorry, go for it.
just when you have those systems in place, then it takes a lot of the emotion out of it. Because when this happens, this is what we do. And you don't have to worry about responding. I mean, it can be as simple as if you get a bad review, what is your policy? You don't go on and like leave a nasty comment, or maybe you do, whatever your policy is. But if I were to write that out, if you like give it 24 hours to calm the F down so that you don't write anything emotionally driven and make it even worse for yourself. And then maybe reach out to that person privately and be like, hey, I saw that you left the note, just wondering like what we could have done differently next time. And you have that checklist in place already. And it's little things like that. And it's not all going to come at one time, but you build up this handbook over time. And then eventually when you get to the point of hiring a badass creative director like Maddie, a lot of this stuff is already ready to go. And then it's going to change again when you get another person's zone of genius influencing those decisions. But at least it's steering you in the right direction.
What is your thought on like management platforms? You think it's necessary in business?
Management platforms? What do you mean?
So
Like a
sorry, like as in like Asana or um,
Trello or something like that?
Trello. Yeah, Trello or I maybe that's not the right word. What would the right word be? Maybe not management platforms, but
Well, those are
something.
project management tools.
There you
And then we
go.
have
Project
CRMs,
man-
client
Yeah,
relationship management. Oh, 100% necessary. So you don't forget steps, and so you don't have to do all the work.
agreed.
So I use Tave for my CRM. I've done Dubsado, 17 Hats, Sprout Studio. I've tried a bunch of different ones. Um, and what's cool about them is I've got the all the automation in, and it's tied with my email management software. Everything's connected with Zapier. And this was all stuff that I learned how to do over time, but also now I hire someone else to do these automations for me. So when a client gets on the phone with me to book a consult or to book their photo shoot, take the payment over the phone, we go over all their stuff, we pick the date. As soon as we're off the phone, I create a new lead profile in my CRM. I enter their name, email, phone number, shoot date, what type of shoot it is. They get an email with the booking contract, which starts an automation sequence. They get all the preparation materials, all the reminders via email and text message going to them, 2 weeks, 7 days, 3 days leading up to their shoot. They get a follow-up one the day after their shoot, the ordering appointments. Everything is already written and pre-scheduled in these programs, so I don't have to worry about any of it. Um, Totally invaluable.
Yeah, I was honestly, I'm a very stubborn person. I don't know. You guys don't know this, but Mike knows this. But yeah, I'm a stubborn person. I would say that I'm a little bit set in my ways sometimes. And so when I started working for VPM, we use a project management tool called Asana.
Hmm.
And I was like, nah, that ain't for me. Like, I don't want to learn it. Gosh, that thing has saved my life. It is incredible. And when you actually learn how to use these tools, they are so beneficial to your business and
Yeah.
just the communication across the board, just keeping you on task, which is so nice. And Asana also has like automated tasks. So, like, when something gets done, it triggers something else, right? And then notifies that person, which is amazing. So,
Yep.
it's been a savior in our business. We also use, Slack, which has been very successful for us just for communication with clients. And then, G-Chat, of course, when you just want to communicate to your peers and everything like that. So,
Yep.
yeah, I would say that, my stubbornness has definitely died out when it comes to project management tools, and they are so important. And there's a million of them out there, so you really just have to find out which one works best for you. And each one it has a little bit different, working style or tools or
Yeah.
so you got to find out what works for you and your business. But
Yeah.
I love those. I love Asana actually. I don't think I'd ever say those words, but I'm saying it now.
This episode brought to you by no, it is
Asana.
not. It'd be great if they did. Yeah, there's some great programs out there for photographers. Like Tave, I mentioned. I switched over to them about a year ago. I was having too many issues with email delivery with my previous one, where everything was going to spam, but on my end it was being marked as read. And so my clients weren't receiving the emails, but I thought they were receiving their emails. And when people weren't showing up for appointments, I'm like, you read all my reminders. They're like, I never got a single reminder from you. I thought you canceled or something. And just so frustrating, but being able to sign contracts um, easily, without having to get DocuSign synced with whatever, like just keep everything in one place.
Absolutely. I think that's the biggest thing, keeping everything in one place
Yeah.
because wow, our brains they're already working a million miles an hour in every direction. And so for me, I literally will be doing one thing and then I'll think of something else. I'm like, oh, I got to do that. And then I start that. I'm like, stop. That's like probably the biggest thing that I've had to do with the podcast, VPM, is finish a stinking task, and then move on.
Yeah.
But yeah, that it allows us everything to be in one central location. You can save, templates of things and so nice. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. CRMs are fantastic. I was lucky enough that I had a mentor way early on who encouraged me to get one right away, and she showed me how she used one. Lucky enough to have that from day one. But I used it to very limited functionality. I also tried to go in and do too much with it too fast. But technology has changed a lot. It's gotten so much easier to use. And, like especially with Tave, the one I use now, their customer service was so good. From the time that I actually bought my first month of service with them, you can schedule a call while they'll help you set up your account. So they helped me set up all my email automations, my contract automations, everything. We just spent like an hour on a Zoom call, and they walked me through setting up everything, so I don't have to figure it out on my own, which was great.
Yeah, and that goes back to the smarter people, having them in the right spots. Again, I'm not a systems and processes person, but I can learn them. And so we have, a member of our team that's brilliant at that, and they know exactly what to do, and then we go through trainings, and then we're all updated on that, skill. So
yeah,
it's great.
Sweet. So where can everyone find you?
Yeah, so the Blood, Sweat, and Sports Parenting Podcast is the name of our podcast. Our tagline is Parental Guidance Suggested. And we give you all the parenting knowledge. We have an amazing, guest lineup for this first season. We're about halfway through our first season. And we just actually launched, the latest was Clyde Drexler, a great NBA legend, a 10-time NBA All-Star, an NBA champion, a member of the 92 Dream Team. So cool. The thing that's amazing about this podcast is that you're getting a different conversation than you'd ever get with these guys. So it's really cool. But yeah, if you go on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, which I'll put the link below, you can find all of those episodes, and it's just the Blood, Sweat, and Sports Parenting Podcast. And we hope you listen.
One of my favorite takeaways from your show so far, you'd shared it with me right after you filmed it when I was out in Salt Lake City with you, is be where your feet are. Can you take 30 seconds and share that little snippet for us?
So good. Yes. That is actually my favorite as well. And that's probably why I shared it with you.
Yeah.
Our first episode that we launched this season was from Tony Finau, and he is a professional golfer. He's based out of Utah, and he talked a lot about, having that balance between being a father and also being a professional athlete. He has many children, and he's also a husband. And so what he told us, which is his parental guidance suggested, or his advice is what it is be where your feet are. And he just said, when I'm on the golf course, that's where my feet are, right? So I'm going to focus on that. I'm going to be the best that I can. The second that I get home, I change hats. I'm dad mode. I'm husband mode. And for me, that was amazing just because of, I know myself, right? I have a really hard time being where my feet are. I have a really hard time taking off the different hats, especially I work from home a lot. And so it's hard to shut it off and be done, for the day. I don't think I ever really am done for the day. So I love that piece of advice. And, that came down from the way that he grew up and the way he was raised. And that's an amazing podcast. Honestly, he came from nothing, and his dad didn't know a thing about golf, but decided to get a book and teach him through this book. And he became, the number one golfer when he was 10 years old. And now he's a stud on the PGA. So it's amazing.
Didn't he just win back-to-back Masters right before you filmed that or something?
He just won back-to-back tournaments. Yeah, on the PGA. So cool.
Yeah. Sweet. Well, again, this was fantastic. I'm going to go grocery shopping now because it's middle of the day and I can.
Oh, I spent 2 hours at the grocery store yesterday. It's bad.
2 hours?
Yeah, you can get stuck there, okay?
Wow.
You
That's
need
like
to come with the
Costco on a
list.
Saturday before a holiday.
Yeah, I don't know. My problem is if I don't have a list, I'm going forever, and I'm looking and just getting whatever I see.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I appreciate you, Maddie. Thank you again for coming on here with us, and excited to make some more magic in the future. Make this channel the biggest gosh darn channel YouTube has ever seen.
Yeah, follow Mike Lloyd's YouTube channel. He's pretty brilliant.
Awesome.
Sweet.
See you on inside.